So, with the foot exploration, we're starting off at the very beginning of this, thinking about what our foot should be doing, how it should feel. But we can't really ask that question until we have some basic knowledge of how it's moving. So, we're going to start and looking at the toes individually. One of the best things you can start to do is pull your toes. Literally flex them, bend them. You might feel some popping and cracking. That just means that they haven't been moving in a long time. So, start with pulling the toes, then you can flex all the toes. You can extend them, get them to move, see what feels stuck, see what feels pliable. As you get more and more into this process, your feet will become more pliable and more mobile, and that's an awesome process as the tissue starts to become less fibrotic and becomes more mobile. Press in between the toes, feel any pressure points, pull the toes apart. Start to think about all this stuff. There's no right or wrong. We're just exploring these movements and seeing what presents itself and seeing where pain is so we can note that to work on it as we go through the process. For the single leg balance, we're going to explore the different parts of how you're putting weight into the ground. And so the goal here is to get 20 to 30 seconds with your eyes closed, balancing on one foot. But first, what I want you to focus on is where are you putting weight under your foot? Is it in the forefoot? Is it in the toes? In the balls of the foot, the heels, laterally, medially? Just start to explore different parts. And this is what closing your eyes will help. And so we're going to take turns closing your eyes and feeling this balance of feeling your body integrate as we start to feel the foot move. Now do this barefoot. Feel yourself engage with the ground. Step around, feel the ground underneath you, feel the toes move, start to get some circulation to the tissues. This is incredibly important as we set a calibration for where the feet are underneath our body as we learn to use them better. For the foot self-myofascial release, you're going to grab a lacrosse ball. You can use a tennis ball so it's not as hard. A baseball works and a golf ball all work. We're going to use this to get a little bit of a massage and some pressure into the feet and the fascia and the muscles and the tendons. Now we're going to start off lengthwise. We're going to roll up and down the length of the arch. There's a medial side to the inside, which may be a little bit tense if you have a collapsed arch that's not very strong. And then we got the actual fascia and the muscles under the foot, and then we got the lateral as the outside. Just play around with here. There's no right or wrong. We're just trying to get some blood flow and get some tension to relax some of these muscles. Then we're going to work on that arch laterally. So kind of basically put it under the balls of your feet and let it rotate. Kind of think about spreading and engaging the length of that arch. And then finally we want to use those toes to actively engage. Spread and collapse that arch over the toe and grab that ball with your toes to engage the neuromuscular control and get those feet working. The more we can get them to activate and engage, the more strength we'll have. For the foot crunches, we're going to open and extend those toes, spread them out, and then we're going to squeeze everything together. So really make a fist with that foot and squeeze and try and clench it all together. You can't overdo it, so really squeeze hard and then extend. Back and forth, getting all the muscles to engage. The big toe thumbs up is one of the most fundamental stretches and positions for the foot. Just like with the hand, you would be able to show a thumbs up, meaning you have use of all four of the fingers to flex, and you have the opposable thumb that's moving independently to extend. This is fundamental, and it's also fun. You're going to have fun with this one. So as you hold this position, you might notice that the big toe gets pulled inward. Now you can use your hand to pull that apart, but what's happening is the tissue between the first and second metatarsal, so that first and second bone that's in the actual foot has gotten stiff. So we want to pull that apart to restore that position. As you get more coordinated, you'll be able to use your other foot to pull this apart and then flex those toes. There's a lot of ways you can start to do this, and as you restore use of your feet, you can use them like hands. So think about this. Your goal is to be able to hold the big toe open and then flex those toes, and if you find that the toes keep coming underneath, you might need to use the other hand to push them back down. And again, hold that position with the hand, be intentional with it, and then try to hold it on its own. You'll feel a lot of cramping. If it cramps, sit through it. It'll get better. For the toe spreads, we're working on laterally opening up those toes. So try and get the pinky and the big toe as far apart as possible. Keep it horizontal. Don't let the toes pick up towards you to compensate. And just focus on spreading those toes as far as possible. For the single leg tib turn, you're going to lift that foot up, and then you're going to work on pronating back and forth. Now you might want to start in a regressed range of motion, just little partial ranges back and forth, but this is going to be a regression to develop pronation strength if you're coming off of an injury. Now notice, I'm touching the inside and outside of that foot, so the metatarsal, not just reaching with the toes, but I'm touching the bone on the inside and outside of the foot. Now this is that regressed motion, shifting left and right, left and right. The goal is to get that ankle to pronate and rotate to get as much blood flow to this anterior shin and lower leg as possible. For the Patrick step, we've got a very basic movement that's going to be incredibly valuable for this ankle. It's one of the best things we can do to open up the ankle in an active range of motion. So it's important that we get it right. We're going to start off with some type of elevation, whether it's 4 inches, 6 inches, 2 inches, or flat ground. It doesn't matter, but there's a few key points you have to keep in mind. The first, the whole foot needs to be integrated. You're grabbing the ground with that planted foot, keeping the heel on the ground. You're driving the knee forward over that midfoot. So even if you have to start on flat ground and drive the knee forward, but if that's all your ankle will allow you to do, that's 100% fine. But the most important thing is that you keep the hip square and the knee travels over the midfoot. We do not want to see the knee collapsing in with the arch or the hips flexing to do this. I'm telling you, if you focus on the quality of this, hold on to something to balance if you need, it will make such a big difference. So we really want to get the knee going forward. You might notice you have one side that's more strong or dominant than the other, or more mobile than the other. That's fine. You only do what you can do with the weakest foot. Make sure that the hips stay straight. Don't let the arch or foot collapse in. Keep the quality high. You'll see a huge return on this movement. Foot splay plantar stretch. This is a must-have after any type of running or any type of athletic maneuver. We're going to angle the ankles in so that all toes are on the ground, the knees are out a little bit. We're going to work to get that butt back to your heel. You can start off with the knees off the ground as a regression and start to work on this holding your body weight off the ground, especially if you're coming from plantar fasciitis, but we do want to start to get some of this spread. So get all the toes on the ground, knees out so the feet are angled in towards each other, and then sit back. As you get stronger and more mobile, you'll be able to keep the knees on the ground and sit upright with your hands off the ground, but that's something we'll get to over time. For this, just feel this and allow the tissue to become more lubricated.
Now we're going to go for a walk. And now most people go for a walk, they do it very mindlessly. They slam their heels to the ground, they walk, they march, they smack the ground, and then when they're walking, their eyes are shaking and they're getting a lot of force going up through the body, and then their back hurts. So I don't want that to be you. So when we walk today, I want you to think about getting as soft of a step as possible. You can be barefoot, is going to be ideal, or getting some minimalist shoes that can let you feel the ground. If you can walk on a trail or something off flat, pristine two-dimensional surfaces to let your body engage, that's going to be perfect as well. And I want you to think about feeling the ground moving through the surface. So feeling your hips move. It's kind of like a little bit of a sexy strut. You're going to walk. You're going to feel your hips move as you shift and engage this. And you're going to feel the spine rotate. Now, this is one of those things, most people when they walk, they try to get all the steps in. They're furious and they're stepping and their spine is rigid. I want you to feel that spine moving as you sway left and right, as you step, and feel those femurs rotate in that socket. This is going to be the big thing. As you walk, you should feel good, you should feel refreshed, let the shoulders relax, let the body hang out. Use this as a time for exploration. This is not going to go out and get your cardio. You can do that, but focus on breathing through your nose, feeling the ground, walking softly, and just exploring and feeling and enjoying a beautiful day outside. Do it outside.